Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about my love-hate relationship with bottom metal. A number of years ago, I think Badger first came out with M5 inlet bottom metal. And it's caused me heartache from day one because the inlet is designed to be done with a CNC machine. And I have such a jaundiced view of humanity that I believe that was Obama-think. Obama-think, he was the first guy that came out flat out and said about ethanol and windmills and a bunch of stuff that, yeah, it costs the people money, and it's even not saving the planet, but we're making jobs. We're making jobs. To me, this is a making jobs piece of crap sometimes, because all they would have had to do is make it parallel and it would drop into normal inlets and we wouldn't. But long story short, unless you're really good with your hands, inletting an M5 bottom metal can be intimidating. Now, I happen to be very, very good with my hands, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the technique that I use, because I own a mill, but I am not a full-blown gunsmith. Trust me. If you're not either A, really good with your hands, or B, really good with your hands, don't try to convert a standard Remington inlet to M5 on your own. Not only am I really good with my hands, but I'm really good with epoxy, and the epoxy flocks that I use and the colorants that I use, I can match this color exactly. If I got any bibbles and bobbles in here, I can wipe material and I can mix this brown with black swirl, and I can make a product that looks so close to this gel coat that I could knock a chunk out of it and I could fill it back in and you would never know the difference. So I just want to show you some of the moves, because this stuff is such a pain in the butt. It's so and because this show is aimed at normal people. Now, I have a mill. I bought a mill. I bought an old Bridgeport for $2,500 from an equipment dealer, delivered to my door. 1947 or something, belt drive, and I spent another $300 in DROs and VFDs, and I now have a mill that mills out all kinds of cool stuff. I'm totally happy. I got a mill for under $3 grand. More than that, I put the thing on a roll around so I can push it around in my shop and I can do wonderful work, but I can't do this inlet on my mill. I do the top sides all the time, but there's nothing parallel on this. Just the fact that they made these tabs longer and out of parallel has been the bane of my existence for years. So I've got quite a deal set up here for hand fitting these. I'm not going to turn on, this is going to get a little noisy. So I wanted to give you a lead in instead of coming straight into it. I took a shop vac and put it out on the other side of the wall in the main part of my shop, and I jammed a hole through the sheetrock and I brought the shop vac in here. Down there on the floor you can see a foot pedal. That again is, understand, there's the people right now who are set up to do this full time, high-end gunsmiths, are booked out forever. So sometimes it's worthy. I would never ever steer anyone away from a high-end gunsmith. But it has to be somebody who knows what they're doing if we're talking actual extreme accuracy. Extreme accuracy is not incidental. We're trying to explore ways to achieve it at home. And in that vein, I'm hand inletting a couple of these. I am so happy I bought a dozen of these things, because for the first time somebody came out with bottom metal on the whatever you call it, AI, AICS, AICP. I can't keep it straight. I have every brand of bottom metal and every brand and type and style of magazine. Some of them are big and wide, some of them are little and narrow. I have no idea what they're called, but finally Hawkins Precision came out with this stuff, and it's wonderful. It's flush on the bottom. It sits in here. Whoops, I got to put it in the right way. It sits in, well, I've got one done right here. I just did one and I decided, you know what, I'm going to videotape some of this. This is the exact same thing. And it goes in, boy, I can't get the light. I got so much flooded light. See, I light up under the bottom side. This is part of the stuff. This is not ideal for, but they now make flush bottom. They make magazines that only hang down far enough that I can hold these. This is a wonderful thing. So I'm going after a couple of my McWoodies here and inletting some of this in, and I thought, I'm going to share a little bit of it with you just so that you can see. I'll show you in a minute how I have this corded $50 piece of crap, great value Harbor Freight tool hanging over my head, and another foot pedal here below me on the floor so that I can just step down. And I'm just going to show you how I hold them. Now, this might be meaningless to some people, but not everybody has spent a lot of time tooling by hand. So I'm going to show you how a normal person can use a shop vac and one of these, if I can get the thing in the camera, and a foot feed to inlet. I got a deal on these. I got them for $100 less. Because they had two of them in stock. That's not why I bought them. I would normally order and buy something with the correct inlet, because for $100 I can't do this, not even close. But the simple fact is, I was on the phone with Macmillan's and they said they had a couple and they were the same, and I'm building not a matching set, but two guns, one in silver, two iterations of a similar gun done a different way, different colors, different accoutrement, different hardware. But they're going to share this bottom metal because I'm so happy with the bottom metal now. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn this on, it's going to get noisy, and I'm just going to move up here and remove some material in here and show you some of the things that are important to make this work. Watch, and then I'll explain back later, and then maybe I'll back the camera up and show my setup a little bit here. Hopefully this will help somebody. If not, oh, please go watch anime. Don't waste your time on this, because this is not your normal YouTube channel with flashing lights and bright colors and happy people talking to the camera. So, without further ado, I'm going to stomp the button, get some noise going, and do a little drilling in here, because I'm getting close to the fit on this, and I just want to show you how I fit. Now, there is one stage beyond this. If I'm fitting such that I can't heal it up, like if I'm in wood, then I'm stuck using inletting black. I use Jarrows mainly, although I have 3 different brands. Inletting black or inletting blue, and then I've got to slobber this thing all up with inletting and slide it in there and then remove the inlet, and that's a good way to get a slip glove fit. In this case, I am 100% eyeballing this. I have no layout, I have no template, I have no nothing. I'm just going by eye on this. I slide it in, and I'll show you how I do that. Then I back out and remove the parts that don't fit. The legend is that Michelangelo carved the David by just simply taking a big block of rock and taking away the parts that weren't David. Well, I'm nothing like that, but I am taking away the parts that are interfering with my fit. So, I guess that was with further ado. Here goes. Now, for all you people out there that don't know about nerds, I gotta tell you something about taped glasses. All the stupid nerd movies and all the stupid people in the world see nerds wearing glasses with tape on them, and they go off on this wild, I don't know, journey of the mind where first they presume that this is broken, and then they presume that this guy is too cheap, too lazy, too something, so he fixes his glasses because he's a nerd, right? No, nerds do this because it makes the glasses work. Nerds have more money than you do, always, because they don't suck at life. And this has never been about fixing glasses, for your information. It's so I get proper airflow through here so that I can use them. That's just a rant from an avowed nerd. Now, that sort of thing goes on for the better part of an hour for me to hand inlet one of these. I'm not going to show you, but I wanted to show you that you brace yourself, you use the material at hand, you get it facing directly on. I'm not going to give you my perspective, but my perspective is dead on the center of this thing. Now, I'm going to back off and show you some of the things that I've got. I've got lights on the floor. Over there is a light, and that one's not shining too bright because two of them, but they come up and they light underneath this area. I got another light on the floor over here, blasting up under here that I move. I got lights, I've got to have light coming in around my body from every direction. That's one of the keys. These shaded areas have to be lit. Now, when and this is important, people, this is super hyper important. At some point you have to pick a part of this stock that you consider to call your center line. In my case, I presume that the folks at Macmillan set these holes on the center line and square and perpendicular to the stock. So I take pieces of 1/4-28, which I use for all sorts of things. These are actually what I use for inletting blocks. I have a bucket of them, and I keep some of the ones that I've got currently fitted for use in a little slide-in thing here. The key is that this thing has to go in. You have to inlet evenly all the way around it because every surface on here needs to be touched. They made these stupid M5, and I'll say it again, kind of genius, kind of good M5. I use them in these stocks because I can rough this all, and I will. I'll rough this all up in here. I'll bore some holes down the sides. I'll put it in place, and I'll pour epoxy around it, and it will become an integral part of the stock, and this guy right here will stiffen this stock dramatically. This stock is very, very wimpy through here. If I throw this together, put a bottom plate on it, BDL floor plate, and barrel it from the top side, I will never get this to shoot under half minute. I mean, I might. Well, and especially if I go to a low impulse like 6.5 Creedmoor down. I can do a 243, a 6BR, but these here are, well, they're WSMs. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do 338 for pushing medium big, 265. There's a bullet that falls kind of, I'm the kind of guy that believes there's big guns and little guns. You gotta have a 22, you gotta have a 12 gauge, for instance, if you're gonna small game hunt. You don't really need anything else. I'm not against anything else. But I will say that the 22 will go out and shoot you squirrels and stuff. The 12 gauge will knock down your birds and the occasional squirrel. 16 gauge, it's a luxury. 22 meg, luxury. All these things are... So, I normally go lightest for caliber bullets for BR, for accuracy. And an example is, I'll use the 6mm to illustrate my thought process. I have had, and I'm trying to get rid of, as varmint guns, 6mm barrels in all twists. From 7 to 7.5, 7.5 to 8 gain, a ton of 8s, 10, 12, 14, 14 and a half, 14 and 3/4, 13.75. But that 13.5 to 14.5 stuff is BR specific only, and it is designed only for 62 to 68 grain bullets, and it is only for supreme accuracy. Then I jump all the way up to an 8-inch twist and I shoot 107s. All the bullets in between in my 6mm Spectrum, I've got buckets and buckets and buckets of them. I'm actually putting together some packages for real world bench rest real world varmint shooters to take out, and I'll include a couple thousand bullets in the package with, say, a 12-inch twist, 243 Ackley improved with very low round count, or a 6x47, or a 6 Creedmoor, because I got thousands of these mid-grade bullets to get rid of. Bottom line is, when I'm up close, I shoot the varmints with a light bullet and maximum twist rate because it blows them up like a bomb. The pieces actually spiral out of the camera. Out past 250 yards on a normal day, or 350 yards on a real calm day, or morning or night, you can still shoot the light twist, like a 14 twist, bench rest bullet, and hit vermin just fine. Especially for a coyote, great for a coyote. But when you get to 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 yards, out to well over 1,000 shooting squirrels, I jump all the way up to 105-ish class. I got 104s, 105s, 108s. I got 115s. But the whole swamp in between is kind of useless, because even if the varmint is only at 600 yards, and maybe a 12 or a 10 twist would be better, I've got 10 twist barrels. I got some great 88 grain flat base burgers that shoot like a dream, but they're in between. Instead, I'll reach for the 106s and take the thing out, even though it has no splat factor at all, just pokes a hole in. But that's my way of saying, leading up to the fact that I might do these in 338 WSM, because Burger has a 265 grain bullet that is a great balance between power factor and recoil, and the BC on it is incredible for what it is, and it puts down animals like a ton of bricks. So what that means is, this has got to be, if it's going to be a 338 pushing 265s, we're looking at a pretty serious power factor there. You know, that's 2 tons of energy being generated, and it'll just make this stock go like this. This whole area in here will just, so I inlet these. Now, to get back to the inletting, you'll notice that I poked this in. I take this stuff and I wrap it with tape, which is reasonably concentric for what I'm doing. It gets within a thou or two. And I drive it down in there, slip fit. It's closed. It goes in. It's easily removable. Now I'm allowed, I can take this thing and I can slide it on here. And I'm in about halfway with everything. And now I could back off and look if there's anything else I need to clear here. I've got it in there stress-free, essentially. And I can look, I can get my head, remember I've got this thing pointed right at me. So I get in there and go, okay, I got to remove a little bit of the surface material, because these are also tapered a little. So, as I go down, this goes back. So I've got to remove a little material right here. This side's good, everything's going in. I got to look, actually this whole side, both ends got to be popped a little bit. I'm not going to bore you with doing that. I'm just saying, this allows, and I can see light back here. See, I have my big spotlight coming down, and I can see through this whole apparatus. And so I'm going to back up and show you my lighting and my setup and my whole, there's a lot to this. If you're going to do this, the room is full of lights, and also, see if I can get into the camera, there's a bar up there, right up in there, that bar that runs through. This machine generally hangs on that bar, and I work it back and forth above my workbench. My workbench is, and there's a bright light up there which is screwing with the camera. But I have the light bench, the light bar run parallel to that bar, and I can work up and down, and that is directly over my vise where I do my hand inletting stuff. I apologize for this lighting, but people, this is brutal. I've got super bright lights shining in all directions here. And now to go back up here for a minute, what I've done is driven some nails into the ceiling, as you can see up there, and just bent them over. And this rope here going to this nail comes back to a slip joint on here. And I know it looks crude, but this is what this is about. This is redneck inletting. The correct way is to send this off to somebody who has a CNC. They drop it in, it comes back for $100 to $200. But when you're stuck, or when you've got to do this yourself, or when you want to do this yourself, this right here allows me to swing this forward, and because of the goofy apparatus and the slip joints, I can set the height. I can set the height wherever I want it. I can go up and down, and I can go side to side. I can set this motor anywhere I want in space. I can go, or I can put it up a little higher. In the end, my idea is, let me come down just a little bit so you can see that where I'm going with this is, I want my feed to be rather direct. I want to be able to get right into it and work this area without kinks or screw-ups in here. So, I don't know what else I'm missing here, but I wanted to show you how I get up to it, how I do the moves, and how I adjust this. I've got 20, 30 square feet of space in here that I can have this motor hanging, so that I can go in, I can work down, I got my funky eyeballs that I've showed you before. There's a bunch of tricks. You can sit here, get rid of a lot of this light, and wear the funky eyeballs for fine work. But for this, I don't need fine work. There's mountains of material that come out of here for this M5 inlet. It's not a quick, easy inlet. So, the other thing I guess is, I got my Dremel toolbox. Don't know if you can see it behind the chair. But I keep all my, I should have a zoom so I could zoom in on it, but I don't. I keep all my tools easy to hand here so that I can swap out, swap out, swap out, swap out. So, there's a nice picture of the interior mess of my shop. If it helps out one person, I guess the liberals tell me, it was worth it.